How many times have you looked at someone and, without knowing it, judged their value, their ability, or their importance? What if the world was built around these misperceptions? What if that simple delivery man, with his simple uniform, was actually the owner of an empire? Would you have treated him with respect? On an ordinary day on the busy streets of Manhattan, where the lights twinkle and the city's speed never slows down, something extraordinary was about to happen. It was a cold morning, with the biting wind blowing between the skyscrapers, and the city seemed to move at its steady pace, with passers-by rushing and cars buzzing along the avenues. But there was something different that day, something that no one knew yet, but that in a matter of minutes would forever change the way everyone saw the people around them. Jordan Walker, a simple-looking man, got out of a delivery car and walked steadily toward the Urban Luxe, one of the most exclusive stores in Manhattan. He wore simple jeans, a red coat, and a football cape that went unnoticed in the hustle and bustle of the city. No apparent luxury, just a man going about his daily business. Contrary to what many might think, this delivery wasn't just any task, and this wasn't just any store. Urban Luxe, it wasn't just a sophisticated and coveted space. It was the result of years of hard work by a man who years ago began his journey as a simple delivery boy. But the story doesn't begin with Jordan being greeted with smiles and welcome. Instead, he was met with disdainful looks and giggles. For Mark Taylor and Rachel Morris, two salespeople Urban Luxe, Jordan was nothing more than a messenger from the shadow world. Someone who probably didn't belong there, among the sophisticated customers and luxury items that filled the store's shelves. He was just a delivery man, or so they thought. It turns out they were wrong. As the glass reflected the store's impeccable facade and the light reflected off the perfectly arranged display cases, Jordan knew all too well what was about to happen. He was there for something much bigger than simply delivering a box. He was there to be a lesson in respect, patience, and above all, equality. What no one knew was that he was the real owner of the store. But as humans tend to learn, appearances can be deceiving. What seemed like a simple routine delivery was about to become a powerful revelation that would show everyone a lesson in humility and transform society's view of the respect and value of others. Jordan knew this, and with a calm smile on his face, he was ready to pay his visit. What happens next? The tension that forms between prejudice and reality promises to be something that will change everything. The prejudice and value of each person. Bias in the workplace, how it manifests itself and impacts everyone's lives. Although many like to think they live in a world free from prejudice, reality teaches us otherwise. Prejudice, in its various forms, is present in daily interactions, often without being immediately noticed. Whether in the form of racial, class, or social status discrimination, prejudiced attitudes continue to affect the work relationships and personal development of many people. In a survey conducted by McKinsey & Company, one of the largest consulting firms in the world, it was revealed that in 2020, companies with greater racial and gender diversity were 35% more likely to have superior financial performance compared to companies that had less diversity. However, despite this positive data, prejudices that affect people based on their appearance, origin, or position are still very common, as illustrated by the story of Jordan Walker. The prejudice experienced by Jordan is not an isolated case, but rather a reflection of a structural problem present in many spheres of society, especially in the workplace. For many, prejudice is invisible. It is something they do not notice in their everyday interactions. But for those who are victims of it, it manifests itself in clear and often devastating ways. The simple fact of being judged by an appearance, a uniform, or the role performed can create invisible barriers that limit a person's growth. The subtlety of prejudice. The case of Mark and Rachel. When Jordan entered the Urban Luxe, he was just carrying out a work task. For him, it was just another delivery, like many others he had already made on his journey. Yet to Mark and Rachel, his coworkers at the store, the fact that he was there with a delivery box felt like a threat to the status quo, an uncomfortable reminder that the world isn't as simple as the upscale storefronts in front of him. That they worked. Mark Taylor, one of the store's salespeople, looked disdainfully at Jordan as he entered. His posture of superiority was not just a superficial impression, but reflected a deeply rooted pattern of prejudice. For Mark, as for many others in his position, the idea that a simple delivery man could have any connection to luxury and success was unthinkable. They were so immersed in their own conceptions of status and value that they barely realized the error of judgment they were about to fall into. Rachel Morris, the other saleswoman, made no bones about her superior attitude. She and Mark laughed quietly, clearly thinking that Jordan didn't belong there to the same extent as any other working-class person. For them, the simple fact that Jordan was wearing simple clothes was reason enough to underestimate him. This was not just a question of social class, but of a distorted view of what determines a person's worth. Prejudice and empathy. Why do some people never realize they are wrong? Mark and Rachel's reaction may seem extreme, but it's not rare. In a survey carried out by Harvard Business Review in 2019, 52% of employees reported witnessing discriminatory behavior in the workplace. Most of these actions, however, were not done with explicit intentions to hurt others, but rather unconsciously, as part of a mechanism that feeds negative stereotypes. People often don't even realize that they are discriminating against others based on their own experiences, prejudices, and social norms. This is where an important part of Jordan's journey comes into play. He knew that the discrimination he faced was not something new. For many years, he found himself underestimated, neglected, and treated as inferior. And this not just at work, but in society as a whole. After all, what is the common perception about a delivery person? Someone who is below others, just doing the dirty work while others enjoy the fruits of their labor. This is the mentality that needs to be challenged, because no one, absolutely no one, should be evaluated solely on their position or appearance. But what goes on in the head of someone who feels they are in a position of power or privilege? Why did Mark and Rachel never question their own perceptions? A possible explanation is in the culture of privilege theory, which suggests that those who have social privileges are not taught to question the advantages that their privileges give them. Instead, they may see their own attitudes as normal and fail to recognize the impact of these attitudes on others. Jordan, an example of overcoming and resilience. Jordan's reaction, however, was not immediate anger or frustration. He did not lose his temper, as many might have expected. Instead, he remained calm, staying focused on his mission. He knew that what was about to happen was not just a matter of public humiliation for Mark and Rachel, but an opportunity to teach them an important lesson. What he wanted was not revenge, but a change of perspective. He knew that the best way to combat prejudice was not with more hate, but with patience, calm, and assertive action. During the years he worked as a delivery man, Jordan experienced what many would consider humiliation and slights. He knew exactly what it was like to be looked down upon, as if he were invisible. But what motivated him was not the desire to retaliate, but to understand why people acted the way they did. He became a living example of how appearances can be deeply deceptive. Along his journey, he learned to deal with these obstacles, to ignore other people's judgment, and to focus on what really mattered: hard work and building something meaningful. That was why, when he walked into his own store, he knew exactly what to expect: the veiled contempt, the lack of respect. But he wasn't just there as a delivery man. He was there as the owner of the store, someone who built that brand from scratch, someone who had to overcome much greater obstacles than those that were being presented at that moment. For him, it was time to show that a person's worth is not determined by what they wear, where they work, or the position they hold. The powerful lesson in respect. The prejudice that Jordan faced at that moment in urban luxe, it wasn't something he didn't know well. But the way he handled it brought to light something that very few could see. He wasn't just a simple delivery man. He was living proof that everyone, regardless of their appearance or social standing, has value. And perhaps it was time to teach Mark and Rachel, and everyone around them, that a person's true worth should never be judged by what they wear or their title, but by what they are able to achieve through hard work and determination, building a culture of respect. What does it really mean? Respect is often considered one of the most fundamental qualities in any workplace. However, it is often just talked about and not practiced. The concept of respect in the workplace goes far beyond simply being polite or courteous to others. It is deeply related to recognizing the dignity of each person, regardless of their position, origin, or appearance. Respecting someone means recognizing their humanity, their rights, and the intrinsic value that each individual carries within them. Defining inclusion. The difference between diversity and inclusion. While diversity refers to the presence of people of different origins, ethnicities, genders, abilities, and perspectives, inclusion goes beyond that. Inclusion is the active process of creating an environment in which all people feel valued, heard, and respected. In an inclusive environment, it is not just about having a variety of individuals, but about ensuring that everyone, regardless of their characteristics or background, can fully contribute to the success of the organization. According to the report of Deloitte, one of the largest consulting companies in the world, inclusive environments are 2.3 times more likely to be innovative and effective. This occurs because, in inclusive environments, people feel that their ideas are valued, which allows for a greater exchange of perspectives and, consequently, an increase in creativity and productivity. However, inclusion is not something that happens by chance. It requires a conscious and systematic effort to change how we interact with each other, how we address differences, and how we integrate diversity into all aspects of the organization. Jordan Walker knew this, and his vision for Urban Lux was exactly that, creating a space where all voices were heard and respected, without exceptions. Practicing respect in the workplace. How does it transform relationships? When Jordan founded Urban Lux, he was aware that not just the quality of the products, but the quality of the relationships within his company would be crucial to long-term success. For him, respect in the workplace was not just a policy, but the foundation on which he would build his company. He believed that when people feel valued and respected, they become more engaged, productive, and willing to invest their best effort in the organization. This is reflected in several studies and practices adopted by successful companies. In a study carried out by Gallup, it was revealed that employees who feel their employers care about their well-being and respect their contributions are 4.6 times more likely to be engaged at work, resulting in a significant increase in productivity and overall satisfaction. Additionally, when an employee perceives that their work is valued, they are more likely to engage in behaviors that promote innovation and continuous improvement. For Jordan, ensuring that all employees, regardless of their position, were aware of their value within the company was essential. He knew this would start from the moment someone was hired to the way each team member was treated on a daily basis. This stance not only improves the work environment, but also creates a solid and resilient organizational culture where people feel motivated to do their best, without fear of reprisals or exclusion. The importance of inclusion at all levels of the company. Implementing inclusion in the workplace involves more than just ensuring that people from different backgrounds are represented. It also involves ensuring that these people have the same opportunities for growth, respect, and development within the organization. Unfortunately, many companies, even those that consider themselves diverse, fail to create truly inclusive spaces. In 2020, a study published in Harvard Business Review indicated that, although 76% of companies claim to have diversity programs, only 22% of them implement inclusion initiatives that actually result in substantial cultural changes. This happens because many organizations fail to integrate inclusion in a practical and concrete way at all levels of the company, from hiring to leader development. Jordan Walker, on the other hand, was determined to go beyond words and implement real change. He knew that a true culture of respect couldn't just be a slogan on a bulletin board, but must be lived out in all interactions, decisions, and company policies. And this would be reflected not only in senior management positions, but also in people working at lower levels, such as delivery drivers, who are often overlooked and undervalued. The leadership mindset. How can leaders promote inclusion? One of the keys to creating an inclusive culture is the role of leadership. Leaders not only set goals and guidelines for company operations, but they also shape culture through their attitudes, behaviors, and decisions. When leaders like Jordan model respect and inclusion in their daily actions, it sets an example for everyone in the organization, creating a standard of behavior that everyone strives to follow. In his case, the experience of being a delivery driver gave Jordan a unique insight into how respect should be treated in the workplace. He had already experienced the humiliation of being treated as invisible just because of his role. This motivated him to create a company where everyone, without exception, could feel worthy and respected. For him, being a leader didn't just mean making difficult decisions, but also being a role model for everyone around him. He knew that the way he treated others, especially lower-ranking employees, would directly reflect the culture he was creating. Transformation and impact. How inclusion and respect drive real results. The transformation Jordan wanted to implement in urban Lux, it was not just a matter of domestic politics, but also a model of economic success. Studies have shown that inclusive environments not only reduce employee turnover, but also increase innovation and collaboration between teams. A survey conducted by McKinsey & Company in 2019 found that companies with inclusive cultures are 1.7 times more likely to be leaders in innovation in their sectors. Additionally, companies that promote inclusion and respect for their employees are more likely to attract and retain talent, regardless of sector. This creates a competitive advantage in the market, as an engaged, motivated, and diverse team is much more capable of adapting to changes and developing innovative solutions. Jordan's example is a clear demonstration of how inclusion and respect can result in more than just good intentions. They can translate into financial success and long-term growth. When people are treated with dignity and have their perspectives and skills valued, they become more committed and willing to contribute to the success of the organization. The power of respect in the workplace. Respect and inclusion are not just abstract ideals that must be followed as a social convention. They are the foundation of a solid and successful company culture. For Jordan Walker, it wasn't just about being a good leader, but about being the kind of leader who knew his role was to ensure that every member of his team, from the top executive to the delivery man, was treated with the same dignity and respect. By creating an environment in which everyone felt valued, he not only improved the morale of his employees, but also built a stronger, more resilient, and more innovative company. The path to success Urban Lux, it wasn't just in his strategic business decisions, but in the way he treated those around him and his unwavering commitment to inclusion and respect. Jordan's legacy is a reminder that when companies commit to being inclusive and respectful, they not only create a better work environment, but also position themselves to achieve genuine and sustainable success. And for him, that was the true measure of success. Overcoming and empowerment. Jordan Walker's personal journey. Jordan Walker's journey is a true story of overcoming. He wasn't born with a clear path to success. In fact, his life began like many others, marked by daily difficulties and challenges. However, the key to his transformation was determination and the ability to see beyond his immediate circumstances. Jordan began his career as a delivery man, often ignored and underestimated. The simple act of delivering a box became, for him, a silent battle against the judgment of those who saw him as just one of the crowd. But unlike many who might let it get them down, he used these experiences as fuel. Instead of feeling inferior, Jordan began to believe in his worth, knowing that his journey would not end there. This overcoming mentality led him to build an empire from scratch. He knew that true power lay not in the position he held, but in the ability to turn his vision into action. His experience as a delivery man did not make him a victim of circumstances. On the contrary, it prepared him to be a resilient leader, capable of facing any obstacle. Jordan's empowerment didn't come from a lucky break, but from his persistence and ability to overcome adversity. He didn't just dream, but turned those dreams into reality, building a company with solid principles of respect and inclusion. Looking back, he knew his story was not just about material success, but about proving that everyone, regardless of their background, can achieve great things. Her journey is a clear example of how resilience and determination can transform a life. For Jordan, each challenge he faced was not a barrier, but a stepping stone to something greater. And now, as the owner of Urban Lux, He knew that his success was not only personal, but an inspiration to all those who, like him, started with nothing and fought to achieve their dreams. Jordan Walker's story is more than just a success story. She's a reminder that every person, regardless of their background or position, has the power to change their reality and inspire the world around them. He not only broke barriers, but also challenged the system that often marginalizes those considered lesser or less important. His journey from delivery man to entrepreneur is proof that, with perseverance and courage, it is possible to rewrite any story. In doing so, Jordan not only built a company, but also planted the seeds of a culture of respect and inclusion. He knew that the true value of a human being is not in the position he holds or what he wears, but in the dignity and respect that everyone deserves. His action was not limited to a single moment, but generated profound changes that reverberated throughout his organization. Now, when we think about her story, the lesson is clear. How we treat others, especially those we don't see as equals, defines who we truly are. Respect is not just a value to be talked about, but a practice to be lived every day. So when you look at someone, don't base it on appearances or assumptions. Remember that behind every face, there is a story of struggle, overcoming, and potential waiting to be recognized. And if we all adopted this perspective of respect and empathy, the world would be a much more fair and equal place. Now the question is, how will you contribute to this legacy?